Hi, welcome to GTA 5 o'clock, our weekly look at GTA at 5 p.m. on a Wednesday, as the name suggests. I'm Tim Weaver. I'm here with Dan Dawkins, who is a series expert. He knows GTA back to front. A year ago, he predicted everything you're seeing in the new GTA 5 trailers now. So he knows his stuff. He's going to every week go through GTA 5 forensically and bring us a really interesting insight. Last week we talked rumours, specifically debunking rumours. It ran on so long that our technical guys told us we had to split it in two. So the second half of last week's rumour debunking carries on this week, but it's even better this week. I think the second half is definitely better than the first. So Dan, take it away.
So these are known as like the PlayStation Magazine rumours. Now, the one part that's definitely untrue is that it didn't come from the PlayStation Magazine.
Yeah.
How do we know this? Because we make them.
Yeah, that's right.
And because none of our journalists had at this time seen GTA 5.
No.
So that actual aspect of it is clearly actually rubbish.
Yeah.
Now, whether it's completely made up or a smokescreen for someone who's got something to say and was looking to deflect blame somewhere else.
Yeah.
Which is not impossible. But the interesting thing is, from this PlayStation Magazine rumour, from the journalist, inverted commas, who claims to have seen it, a lot of the things that they said or speculated have turned out to be absolutely on the money.
Yeah.
So if we run through some of the things that were like absolutely right, one of them was that they predicted was like a massive world. And they said it was 4 times the size of Liberty City, and that's just Los Santos alone. And they talked about taking a 15-minute journey from the city to the country, going past all this working countryside, lots of people hanging out and camping, lots of people working in the fields, and that is very much in line with what we've seen of early screenshots of GTA 5.
I mean, I guess you could say, people might argue, well, that's a lucky guess, but to call it as being 4 times the size of Liberty City, which is probably roughly equates to Liberty City and the world of Red Dead, and what else was it they said? I've had a blank, but anyway, it was
L.A. Noire.
I think perhaps it was. Yeah, is that does actually match up. That kind of is in the same ballpark there, and it probably, like a 15-minute journey out to the sticks is not beyond the realms of possibility. Given that, like Liberty City was much more dense, it was really dense and packed. Whereas San Andreas, when you cast your mind back to San Andreas, we were only talking about this in the office the other day. It was huge. It was massive. It took ages to drive out into the sticks. So it's not that this is even bigger than that. Yeah. That makes that 15 minutes to me seem quite convincing. Yeah,
very much so. And there's other things he had right. Like for example, he said animals. And he says animals will be in the game, including dogs, which has proved to be the case, and cattle. Again, you could have guessed that, but it's proved to be true. Also talked about planes. You can pilot planes in it. And he said, now this is the interesting bit, he says they can be crashed into buildings. Now, we don't know that yet, and that obviously presents its own set of hot potatoes, but that's what he'd said.
Yeah.
Another thing they talked about in this was the vast volume of interior locations. And, the journalist, inverted commas, had said that there's a vast underground sewer network. And it says one mission later in the game involves a jet ski chase that culminates in a fugitive-esque waterfall jump. Now, what's interesting is we do know there will be explorable underwater locations. That's been confirmed. We've seen the speedophile jet ski, so we also know that's in there, and there's much more in the way of waterways. We know that there's going to be heists along the themes of set pieces. So this idea of a fugitive-esque waterfall jump, given that again there's sort of references like we talked about last time to like Die Hard and other film scenes you might want to replay and relive, that sounds like a very feasible mission to me.
The idea of leaping off a waterfall on a jet ski is not so preposterous when you think back to the trailer that got revealed last week with a jeep driving out the back of a plane.
Yeah.
So you could argue that simply taking a jet ski off of a massive waterfall is actually a step down from driving a jeep at the back of a plane.
That's baby's work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's absolutely. So again, that sounds plausible. I'm not saying it's correct, but it sounds plausible. Now, another thing that was correctly predicted, it says dating is gone. It says the dating aspect has been removed. And again, this next part is correct. It says you still have a cell phone, but only people you will meet in the game will call you to ask you to do a mission or to ask you to do something else before the mission. Now again, that is what pretty much Rockstar have confirmed. I would also tie in with the idea of, doing something else before a mission might be, like in the case of the heists, getting certain materials to prepare for your missions, which we also know to be true. So again, that information might be correct.
I wonder if that might also tie into the idea of switching between characters, because you can switch between characters, as we know, at any point, and when you leap into those characters, they'll be doing other things, going about their daily business and stuff. So I wonder if, this is speculation on my part, but whether you get called to ask to do something in prep for a mission, and you're not in that area, but like one of the other guys is in the area, and maybe you can. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
It sounds entirely plausible, I think. And this is a really interesting one because it's quite strange for a thing to predict. The journalist had said there's fuel lines in the game, and it says it's possible to rupture a fuel line. And if you shoot with a trail of gasoline, it will lead straight back to the car, blowing it up. Now, what's interesting is in the trailer we saw Trevor lighting a big sort of gasoline trail that went to blow up the building. Yeah. Now, what's a peculiar thing to predict if you didn't have knowledge of that being in the game?
Yeah, that really does add credence to some of these rumours here. I think that very, like you say, very specific thing. Yeah, very specific.
Quite an odd thing, and I think guessing certain things like animals and wild missions is one thing, but for something so specific, it's a little bit sniffy.
Yeah.
Now, things that were also predicted in this article that may or may not be true. One is that they reference the lead character, and they say the main character is an African American in his early 30s. Now, alright, we know there's 3 main characters, so there's not one main character. But again, this wouldn't be unlike the description of Franklin.
No, not at all.
So it could be that this person who's possibly seen something of the game had seen a section of Franklin doing something. Or maybe not, or it's all massive fantasy.
Yeah.
But, it's really interesting fantasy if so. And they also talked about shooting, saying there'll be new animations for diving, climbing, rolling and crawling. Now, Rockstar haven't really detailed the new shooting mechanics, but they have said cover's going to play a big part, and they've clearly got big plans for the shooting side of it. Obviously, they just made Max Payne, and GTAs have always shown huge advances in the shooting mechanics.
Yeah.
So again, let's watch out for that.
And they also said that there are a few things in GTA 4 that they really, really wanted to address. And I know the driving, they said there was very. I can't remember exactly what he said. It was like driving a boat or whatever, but and the shooting as well. They have referenced in a couple of interviews, and that's interesting because every GTA they've improved the shooting incrementally. But I would argue that it's never been at a stage where it feels completely there, and so it's interesting that they reference shooting. I think this, we've in our notes here we've put it under maybe, but I think I would call and say it's almost certain that they will be spending a lot of time on that shooting to make sure it's as good as it possibly can be, because we've got a lot of third-person games out there now that have got that shooting absolutely spot on, and so it needs to be really, really good.
You've got to be on par with what the other top games in that genre are doing. So I think that's like you say, it's a shoo-in. Now, other things that this article predicted are cars being upgraded and repaired. Again, something we've got no visibility on. We don't know if that's the case or not. Some people have speculated on screenshots that the cars have been modded. We don't know that, but this is one of the predictions.
I think that's aside from it being you just taking them to like a pay and spray kind of thing. This is actually
proper modding of the car, like to take it. Same, and it says the same for weapons. It says on top of the usual arsenal you'd expect, you get things like flamethrowers, remote mines, trip mines, and claymores. Now, if you're performing complex heists like Nakatomi Plaza style heists, that sort of stuff might be quite useful to have in your bag.
Well, I think remote mines is an almost certainty, because we saw in the trailer last week the 3 of them ducking behind cover as a massive bank vault door got blown off its hinges. Now, how do you blow a bank vault door off?
Not with a petrol bomb.
No. So I think mines are fairly likely, I would think.
Yeah, so that's good. Also, there was speculation about mini-games, and it says mini-games such as bowling, darts, etc. have all gone. Now, we've not seen those yet, so possibly they've all gone. And it says you can play basketball, weight train, arm wrestle, gamble and cage fight. Enter triathlons, water races, canoeing, abseiling, rock climbing, base jumping and ski diving. Now, we have seen sort of triathlon-style running in previous screenshots.
I think they've confirmed triathlons, haven't they? Definitely. I don't know, maybe I've just made that up.
But there's definitely side games, character-specific side games. So certain characters are better at certain things and perform certain games. Now, Franklin, seems to be a bit of a driver. He seems to be involved, like we said last week, in the dirt bike races, that kind of style of thing, you know. So I think, again, these sort of wilder countryside-style pursuits, and we've definitely seen base jumping, we've seen parachutes. It all sounds very plausible.
The reason I sort of think that this, I'm sure that I read in the Game Informer article that they talked about triathlons, and that's what made me, when I looked at these notes you prepped, I was thinking that's probably, some of this is probably true, because triathlon seems a weird thing to mention when I like, of all the sports, and all the things you could be doing, a triathlon, like earlier when we talked about fuel lines, it seems like a weird thing to mention. So I would say that they said that I think they said that like you don't build up your character and make him fat and all that sort of stuff. So whether weight training is in there, I don't know. But some of these, like you say, I think are almost certain.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing they said was, and this links back to what we said previously, that's very interesting. Old faces will return, and it said one mission involves breaking out a very familiar GTI icon from a previous game. So it sounds like you're springing someone from prison or somewhere. Whether it's one of the McCreary's, whether it's Nico Bellic. I mean, that would be fantastic if you have to assemble like an Ocean's 11 style team to do a particular bank heist. I'm talking myself into it as I speak. And one of them's Nico Bellic. That would be absolutely badass. I'd love that.
It might be quite a nice bit of symmetry as well, because obviously Three-Leaf Clover, Bellic turns up to the and they don't want him around, and now you have to kind of
and again, you get the McCreary's in, they've got experience of bank work. It just makes perfect sense. And the final prediction they made was that the weather in the game is going to be pretty stormy and turbulent. And it says it will move from torrential rainfall and sunshine to even tremors.
Right, okay.
We'll see. And actually, earthquakes played a factor in the end of San Andreas. So, again, quite plausible.
Yeah. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed GTA 5 o'clock this week. We'll be back at 5 p.m. next Wednesday, just like we will be every week. Before we go, I just want to thank everyone who's commented on our YouTube channel. There's been some brilliant discussion, actually, about the stuff that Dan's been picking out. A special mention goes to username Wake Work Repeat, who made some really interesting and probably pretty accurate observations about the De Silva name and how that will be used in the game. So please do get into our comments thread. Do have your say. See if you pick up on anything Dan's been talking about them. Definitely pop that in the thread and let us see your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to say that very aggressively. Don't forget to subscribe, because we'll be back, like I say, every week at this time with even more stuff. So see you next week.
Goodbye.